And a very good Saturday morning to you. We are live at just about 11 o'clock here on a gray Saturday morning, a little bit of a rainy Saturday morning here in Seattle. This is Drive Time Radio. I'm New York Vinnie, and we join you every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, where we give you the latest in the automotive world, what's going on, um, things that you need to know, stuff that you should know, whether you're an electric car fan, a gas car fan, an RV fan. We try to cover it all for you. Plus, we tell you about what we're driving this week, what we drove last week, and how we liked it, what's good out there, what's bad out there. And there's a lot of good and a lot of bad out there in the world these days, kids. But I'm going to go with mostly good. I'm going with mostly good. Thank you for everybody who took a couple of minutes to either send a note or an email or something about, as you probably know or may not know, I was down. I've been down for 2 weeks. I caught the COVID. I spent a ton of time trying to avoid it, got my vaccinations and everything, but yet still caught COVID. And it's been a little bit of a rough time getting back from it, but including a trip to the hospital this week. But you know what? We're through it. We're on the other side of it. The throat is still a little coarse, I guess would be the right word, but getting a lot of energy back. And again, I'm one of those people that believe that when somebody is sick, if we can collectively throw our love to them, it helps out. And certainly, I think in this case, in many cases, that happened, and it certainly happened with me. So thank you all for doing that. John Vincent from U.S. News and World Report is going to join us a little later in the show. My being sick meant that I could not make MUDFEST this year, the Northwest Automotive Press Association event, where we go out and we evaluate cars each year, Northwest type of cars, and come up with what we think is the best of what the manufacturers have out there. I've seen the winners list. We won't spoil it by giving it to you right now, but John is going to join us about halfway through the show. We'll get a chance to spend some time with John to find out everything that happened at MUDFEST and who the winners were, and maybe even a few of the cars that weren't winners that were pretty cool to look at and to to enjoy anyway. It's a great event. I mean, I've been going to it for years. I think it's 20 something years old, 24, 25 years old. And it's not only is it a chance for Northwest car writers and commentators to get together, but it's a chance to talk to the manufacturers' representatives a little bit more about what's going on in the car world, what trends are they seeing, what is happening out there right now. And I think the winner of this year's competition is going to surprise a couple of people. Excuse me one second. I have to keep lubricating my throat. Unfortunately, with the residual of the COVID and whatever else I got going on there, I have to keep my throat um, nice and lubricated, which I never used to do. I didn't do that when I was younger. I drank a lot of coffee, I guess, but I don't know if that's really lubricating your throat. Anyway, so we will get to that a little later in the show. Um, by the way, a couple of quick notes for you. Number one, if you're heading out to North Bend today to see the zebra, forget about it. The zebra's caught. They caught him last night, I guess. But for a week or so, how long was that? Was that a week that they were chasing the zebra? I don't know how you can't catch a zebra in a week, but it just seemed. I guess you don't do it the old way with the dart, and put him to sleep. And then you go and you put him in a trailer and take him wherever you're going to take him. Nowadays, you have to go through all these different changes. Otherwise, you'll have the Zebra Protective Society on your butt about, about what's going on there. But I guess there were 4 zebras or 3 zebras, and they caught 2 of them and sent them back to Montana, wherever they were going. But what was this zebra's name? Shug or Sugar? Shug. Suge had a mind of his own and decided to bop all over the place. And let's put North Bend on the map for a couple of days, and that's never a bad thing, right? I mean, you had all sorts of media out there and everything. Even though the police said, "Please stay away, so we don't frighten this thing and we can catch it before it loses its stripes." But kudos to the King County Sheriff's Department and North Bend Police and all of the different agencies that got together and got Suge home and back in his trailer and on the way to wherever he is heading off to. It's a week that I'm sure that we will not forget in the annals of North Bend history for a long, long time. By the way, the hat. Yes, somebody already sent me a message. What's the deal with the hat? Usually I wear a baseball cap or one of my Kangol, but today is the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. So it is the annual Run for the Roses that is going on today. I always love it, man. I've been a fan of the Kentucky Derby and watching the Derby since I was a kid. I mean, I've been a horse racing fan since it's a day that I love. It's again another year though where I have said, "Oh, I'm going to get to the Kentucky Derby one year," and here I am sitting in Edmonds. But I think that what I want to try to do is next year make it, because I mean, let's face it, I don't know how many years you have left at this point. You get to a certain point, you go, okay. But I want to go to the Kentucky Derby. It's just one of those sporting events. I've been to almost everything. Olympics. I've been to World Series, to Super Bowls, to Stanley Cups, to NBA Finals. Been to all of it. And the two that I have not been to are the two that oddly enough are in the same month and close together. And that is the Kentucky Derby and the Indianapolis 500. Both of those races are two races that I want to go see. Once I see those, I'll feel like my life is a little bit more complete. So, but we wear the hat, and I know it's a lot of fun. I don't know much about the horses. I usually pick my horses by what names I like, unless there's something that's an outrageous deal. By the way, the forecast today, high is 79 degrees with scattered showers as the race is set to go off at 6:57 this evening Eastern time. Everything is on NBC, and it's always one of my favorite days of the year because I get to see Edzo out there doing his horse thing. So, Eddie Olczyk, of course, the great hockey commentator, is out there, and he's also a great horse commentator too. And he picks them. He picks them. So it'll be interesting to look at it. They just put a thing up here. The weather forecast is looking good down at Churchill Downs at Louisville. And there's a scattering of clouds, but everything is looking good. They say there may be some thunderstorms starting at 5 o'clock this afternoon. But everybody's saying so far in all the action I'm looking at is that the dry start to the day will help the horses. And so that's nothing but a good thing. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. My mind is a little dizzy pots today, but I don't know if I mentioned this. I-5 in Everett, if you were going to avoid I-5 today, because they've been talking about doing work on I-5 and closing it down to one lane through Everett for the weekend. The rainy weather that was forecast has caused them to cancel that until next week, which I'm sure, I don't know if, I think the Mariners are still out of town next week, so I think that should be okay. But again, if you are next weekend going to head north to Grandma's house on I-5, you may want to check that out and see what that whole situation is going to be, because the work was supposed to be done today, but now it's not going to be done today. It's going to be done next weekend. So be aware. You can always go to the Washington State Department of Transportation. They have an app you put on your phone. You can look at it. It'll tell you where the hot spots are, where the places you should avoid, the places that you can uh, go to get around the traffic spots. So that's always a good app to have in your phone if you're into cars. Good morning this morning, I guess, at Cars and Coffee in Shoreline as uh, Ryan Harsager, who puts that thing together out there every week. I mean, what a trooper this young man is. And he organizes this thing and gets everybody out there and does a great job. If you ever get a chance to go out there, you're looking for something to do early on a Saturday morning. It's at 175th in Westminster, right in the town and country is it market there in that parking lot in front of the Chinese restaurant. And there's always 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 cars sitting there. And you walk through and you're like a little kid going through all of the stuff that's going on there and seeing some great cars. I've seen some absolutely pristine. There's a 62 Chevy Impala 409 that the guy brings there. It's like a dark maroon color. Oh my God, do I love this car? Oh, if I win the lottery, as much as this guy wants, he's getting it for this car. It's just one of those cars that you look at and you salivate. You want to drive it. You want it. But speaking about wanting to drive, a friend of mine, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want him to get 9,000 requests, but a friend of mine took delivery of his Tesla Cybertruck this past week. And with all my friends with the new cars, I wish him a lot of luck with it. The trick now is going to be he's already consented to take me for a ride in it. I think the trick here is going to be, will you let me drive it? Because, Tesla is notorious. They don't make press cars available except for really high-powered organizations and stuff like that. But I'm going to see if I can get my friend to let me at least take a spin around the block in his Cybertruck and then report back to you on that. We will get together and go for a ride. And we'll give you a tour of the Cybertruck on an upcoming episode of Drive Time. So I'm excited about that. Ferry prices are up. They went up May 1st. I think it's now, what is it, $100 round trip if you have a couple of passengers in the car to get on the ferry here at Edmonds or up in Mukilteo. I mean, it's the cost of doing business. You still don't pay the full price of the ferry ride. And if you're disabled or you're a senior citizen, or if you commute back and forth, there are discounts. So, but it is expensive to those of us who remember the days of the Staten Island ferry for a nickel. Or, I forget what it was to put a car on there. But, those days, like everything else, are gone. I hate to say that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but those days are done. The the really when you come down to it, uh, you know, they subsidize that ferry. It's part of our state highway system. I know there's a lot of people who complain. It's only a few dollars that it goes up. It's not like it goes up $30 or something like that. Um, Maybe it should be a more equitable system to soak the tourists a little bit more at the expense of, or soak the tourists at the expense of maybe dropping tourism down. I don't know. You can make an argument that people are going to come no matter what. That those islands and the places that you can go to are so beautiful. That the tourists are going to come and they're going to get on these boats and they're going to go anyway. So uh, I don't know what the answer is. Right now, the answer is you pay a few more bucks to get on the ferry, but you're paying a few more dollars for gasoline as well as the summer blends are out. And AAA has indicated and shown that the gas prices are up once again. So if you're noticing that it's going up, I mean, I was at Costco the other day and it was like I don't know, $4.58 or something at Costco. I forget exactly what it was, but it was like in the 4.50 neighborhood. Now, my friends in California are paying $6 a gallon. Don't believe that $7 a gallon. The only place they're paying $7 a gallon is like in a place like in the city of San Francisco or downtown Los Angeles. But I don't think there's many people that are paying $7 a gallon for gasoline at your regular neighborhood Chevron station. I don't know that that's happening even in California. And if you get out into the middle of the country, into America or America, you're probably paying more close to 3.50 a gallon, 3.75, somewhere in that neighborhood. So yeah, we're on the West Coast, or if you're on the East Coast, you get soaked. It's for whatever reason, whether it's the refinery capacity or whatever it is, it costs more money out here. Um, there was an interesting story that came out of Elon Musk and his visit to China, and I bring this up because there's a lot of rumbling, a lot of stuff going on with Tesla right now. They're dropping the prices on their EVs so that they can make bigger inroads into their the market share of the electric vehicle market. That's causing the whole electric vehicle market to collapse. I mean, people haven't seen anything like it. Where cars that were going for $70,000 a year ago are now going for half of that price. I mean, if you want to go out and we talked about this 2 weeks ago, if you want to go out and you want to buy an electric vehicle and you happen to like the Mustang GT EV, uh, you can buy one of those things for almost half the price it was a year ago. They're around 70 grand a year ago. You can buy them now, probably 40 if you look, because the day supply is the supply of them are out there. They're all over dealer lots. And people are wheeling and dealing. There's 22s that still haven't been sold yet, and they're getting ready to ship 25s. So if you have an interest, now probably many of these cars are not going to have the tax incentives on them. But if you have an interest in an electric car, this may be a good time to go shopping. This may be a good time to take a look. I don't think the situation is similar for the Kias and the Hyundais and the Genesises. I think those cars are selling well. They have a huge hit on their hand, does Hyundai, with the Ioniq 6. Just an unbelievable car. But Musk, anyway, made some remarks at a meeting saying that you can't think of Tesla as a car company. You have to think of it in other terms. Now, what does that mean? Well, does that mean Tesla is a media company, a communications company that just happens to build cars? I mean, what is Tesla? And you can say, well, who cares? But it is affecting directly the price of electric vehicles out there. And you have to, when Musk is dropping the price of his vehicle so he can flood the market, what he's doing in essence is he's crippling all the other manufacturers. And people will go toward that manufacturer. Now, I got to be honest with you. I'm not, well, I'll tell you about what I'm driving. I'm driving an electric vehicle this week. And I can't imagine that a Tesla would be better than what I'm driving this week or what I drove last week. I've had two electrics in a row. And the improvement in these cars is phenomenal. Even the improvement to the charging stations and where they've come from 3 or 4 years ago is phenomenal. So America is getting ready for the electric car. Now, what that is doing, though, is it's dropping back a lot of the action on autonomous driving. There's a number of companies that were in on autonomous driving that have now said, wait a minute, maybe we need to dial this back a little bit. Maybe we need to take a look at our priorities. What's more important, to have electric cars or to have autonomous driving? I don't know that the companies can handle both at the same time financially. I mean, if they have all the money that they want in the world, yeah, they can go out and hire engineers, and you work on this, and you work on this, and we'll see what happens. But the reality is, Tesla disrupted the car business so much that they caused this this change in direction. And when politicians got involved and they saw which way it was going, they got involved too. And so it caused it cost the American automotive industry to get caught flat-footed. Got the ball in their hand and they can pass it, but when you're flat-footed, it's hard to get it out of your hands and toss it somewhere. So it's going to be interesting to watch. That's going to be something that bears a lot of watch, because it's going to directly affect the future of electric cars. Already we're backstepping a little bit here and saying, well, maybe he's not so fast with electrics. Maybe we're going to go to hybrids. Maybe we're going to have plug-in hybrids. And maybe that's going to be the way we're going to go for a while. And I think part of that is just the political climate, is that you have so many people who want to believe that these electric cars are no good, um, which is a fallacy. Now, as I have said before, and I think there was a speech by the head of Cadillac earlier this week, who said that we're not just dumping the internal combustion engine. And I told you this a couple of years ago, that buying a car is going to be like a buffet. You're going to buy a car for what you need a car most for. So you may have an electric car that has a range of 350 miles, and that's your daily driver. But when you go on vacation, maybe you don't use your daily driver. Maybe you go and you rent or you lease something that will take you on your vacation. And maybe it's a hybrid. Maybe it's an ICE engine. Maybe it's a different type of power plant than you think it's going to be. Now, these things are all going to require you to think. You're going to have to think about these things. And that's one of the things that is happening in the car business now, is you can't just be a consumer who waddles into the showroom and not know ahead of time what you want. It's not gonna serve you well. You got to do your research. You got to talk to people like me, and who know a little bit about this stuff, and try to get an idea of what you're going to use this car for. How is this car going to be used? And you will be able to kind of plot out what kind of car you're going to use. Right before we bring John Vincent in, I just wanted to get to this story because it warmed my heart. Sometimes you say that these corporate people are so cold and this and that and the other thing. Although I never say that, because they contribute so much money to so many different causes. But this particular one here was something that really touched my heart. Guy in Utah has an 18-year-old son. The son has cancer, given months to live. So the dad goes out and he buys his kid a Mustang GT, 330 horsepower Mustang. The father gets some criticism from the neighbors, I guess, because buying his 18-year-old kid a 330 horsepower car. I even rail about things like that myself, but the kid has cancer, doesn't have long to live, and this is the father's way of making his kid's life brighter. So Jim Farley, the head of Ford, sees this, and by the way, when the kid was driving home with his father in the car, the kid says, "Dad, I'm going to squeeze a few extra months of life just to be able to drive this car." Well, anyway, the kid gets the car. Um, Jim Farley, the head of Ford, sees the tweet. Somehow it's brought to his attention. I think maybe he tagged Farley in the tweet, and so Farley writes back to the father, answers his tweet, says, "Hi Joe, I'm so sorry to hear what your family is going through. Please let me know if you and your son would like to attend the FP Racing School to experience a Ford Mustang Dark Horse on the track. DM me and we'll make it happen." I mean, here's a guy, doesn't have to respond to this, but he does. He looks at it. He says, "You know what? I can make a kid's life a little bit happier. Kid doesn't have long to live. This is a kid who's loved Mustangs," he says, according to the story, "as long as he can remember. 6-year-old me liked it," Joseph told the press. So kudos to Ford and kudos to Jim Farley for making that happen. That's one of those great stories that you look at and you say that's something that really it just makes you feel good when you have the power or see somebody with the power, John Vincent, to do something like that, to make something like that happen. There you go. How are you, pal? John Vincent from U.S. News and World Report is with us this morning on Drive Time. He is the man who pulls the strings on all the automotive stuff that happens over there. I call him the guru, but maybe it should be the godfather of automotive at U.S. News and World Report. How are you, John?
No, I'm just one of a big team that does this stuff every day. I
Well,
am good, Vinny. How are you? That's the big question.
well, I'm alive. I'm
Well, that's
here.
good.
I'm doing the show. I'm still a little froggy. I still have a little growl to my voice. I'm trying to get rid of that, but I'm upright and I'm walking, which I have to say 2 weeks ago on Monday was not the case.
Yes,
So,
we
you
missed
know,
you out there.
I missed being out there. I was talking about it earlier in the show. MUDFEST, our annual event that I don't know, is it 25 years, 26 years now?
30 this year.
Third this
30. Yeah.
it's such a fun event because not only do we get to test these cars out, but we get to socialize, we get to talk to manufacturer reps, we get to see people, we get to not just from a social aspect, from an exchange of information aspect with a lot of people. You get to really kind of talk to the manufacturer reps and find out what about this? What's happening here? What's going on there? They're not going to readily tell you, but they'll take you over the corner at some point and say, well, this is really what's happening. So that's good. So how was Mudfest this year?
My fest was excellent this year. We had the perfect weather on each day. We had some sun and warm temperatures on day one for the on pavement stuff, and some rain on day two for the day where we want the mud.
You can't beat that, man. It saves our the people that put this on and help us put it on. Saves them a lot of standing out there with a hose and getting
Yep.
things wet on that second day. They're out there at 4 o'clock in the morning, wetting down the mud part of the fest.
Yep.
And this was out at, excuse me, this is held out at the Ridge Motorsports part, and they always do a great job of hosting us out there and just really putting it together for us, and them and the people from, of course, Page One and Drive Shop and all of the people and you and Nick and everybody, Jim Redden, who gets involved. Everybody gets together and puts this thing together, and for most of the people that are there, it's a plug and play. You come in, get in your cars, you drive them, you score them, and you go. Eat a couple of dinners, you listen to uh, Bill talk about something that we don't know what he's talking about. Our good friend Bill from Auto News, and we move on. Um, what what did we have out there this year that was new and different? Um,
We had a great variety of stuff out there this year. We had everything from a Hyundai Kona, which you might not think would do well, which did amazing, to the new Ineos Grenadier Trial Master, basically purpose-built off-roader that's being manufactured by an oil company from England.
Nice, yeah. And a matter of fact, two of our members won the Alcan with that, didn't they, this year?
They won their class in the Alcan with the Ineos Grenadier.
With the Ineos Grenadier, and which was interesting because another one of our friends and members was also in the race. He did not fare as well as they did, but Jeff, our good friend Jeff Zerschmeed, probably had more fun than any 10 people at the event. This is a guy that has a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
He has a tiki bar in his living room, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, you don't need to say more. So how do we? What is this set up as far as classes? Let's do that a little bit so people can kind of understand. It's Northwest oriented vehicles, right?
Correct. Northwest oriented outdoor activity vehicles. So we break it down into 7 different awards plus an overall award. Um, Most of the vehicles are divided into classes, but then we have some awards that can come from any class. So why don't we start with the small ones, the two-row family SUVs?
Okay, which is probably the most popular category, I would think, in the Northwest right now. Is that people are. I mean, if they need that third row, they go for it. But for the most part, that two-row SUV is is the sweet spot.
Yeah, this is that class that has the CRV and the RAV4 and everything from subcompact to compact SUVs, and a bunch of midsize actually too. And our winner this year, the 2024 Jeep Wrangler two-door Rubicon X.
Wow, that's a little surprising, isn't it?
It was a
I
little
mean,
surprising. Um, this is proof that even though I run the scoring, I don't put my finger on the scale because I really think that Kona should have won.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've driven a Kona, I've driven the Jeep, and listen, the Jeep is a great off-road vehicle. It's a you can drive it over hill, over dale, wherever you want to go. But I just don't know if I think of it in terms of a that type of vehicle. It's much more of a rough and ready, let's go up into the woods type of deal, as opposed to I want to drive it every day back and forth to the mall.
I
Uh,
agree. It's a fantastic vehicle. It's a go anywhere vehicle. It is the benchmark for off-road vehicles. But I'm not sure that people think about it as a two-row family SUV, especially the two-door version.
yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a little bit of a surprise, but and you'd probably know this. Was it a much younger crowd this year? That because I know that our membership has been skewing a bit younger, or did just the rep from Jeep, Scott, just do a great job at
Probably a little bit of both.
buying drinks at the at the event.
That buying drinks does not influence our votes
Right. I know. I'm only kidding.
because everybody does it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not like it's not like the record business. When you're at the record business, you go and you have all of these guys that women set up suites in a hotel, and you go up and you party and you know it's Mudfest isn't. It's about as fair a competition actually as you could find. I think in one of these things. I've been to a few different things, and I think Mudfest is. We've really taken caution to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity and everybody's classed with other vehicles in their class so they compete together.
Absolutely. We want it to be a level playing field where everybody has an opportunity to win. And one thing that separates our event from a lot of the other events is that every journalist out there drove every car.
Right, right. What you do not see at a lot of these other events. I mean, people,
Right?
most of these events, you can drive what you want to drive.
Yep.
But in our event, you have to drive every vehicle. Most vehicles have a manufacturer's rep with them, so they're looking at who's in and who's out and everything like that. So if you don't drive it, you're going to get busted.
Yeah, and this was super apparent last year. In the overall winner last year was a vehicle that people probably didn't even have on their radar until they drove it at the event, and it came through and won. And that's the Outlander plug-in hybrid from Mitsubishi.
Yeah, I I I remember that that vehicle and I felt vindicated. I have to say when that vehicle won because I had driven that vehicle early on, and it was almost like you're driving it and you're going, "Is this really a Mitsubishi?" I mean, is it, because it was that good. It was, and not to knock Mitsubishi, don't get me wrong, but it's just not the car that you think is going to win a competition like that. And all of a sudden you get it, you start to go down your checklist of what you think about this and what you think about that. And it's scoring high on everything. You put
Yep.
fives down all over the place. And you're going, wow. And sure enough, it won the competition. It was an amazing job.
So while we're talking about surprising winners,
Okay.
three-row family SUV this year, 2024 Kia EV9 GT line all-wheel drive.
Um,
Now,
wow.
spectacular on the on-road, less spectacular off-road because it's got a really long wheelbase and it's super heavy and it sits slow, but it got through every obstacle, did well, impressed the voters, and took the category.
Well, John, I got to tell you, I'm driving one this week, not the GT, but I'm driving, I think the Land, is it, or the Wind,
Okay.
or
Yep, the
yeah,
land.
the Land, yeah. And that is one of the most impressive vehicles that I've driven all year. I mean, that's an early on vehicle of the year favorite. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that vehicle. I mean, you go through it and you can't find. Go in with your critical eye as much as you want, but you can't find anything bad in that vehicle.
Oh, there are a couple things that are not perfect, but it's a very, very good vehicle. The location of the start button.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's it. It should be. It's on the. It has a little column shifter, and the start button is put next to the gear selector, right next to it. And
it's hidden by
oh,
the steering wheel,
yeah, you have to kind of put your hand under to get it. But they couldn't live without the fingerprint thing on the center
right?
console, so they had to find some place to put it. Yeah, I agree with you. That's a bit of a why.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, but other than that,
That's an easy one to fix. So they can fix
and
it. But
what's really crazy about it is that third row is among the most accessible third rows. I mean, I can get in there, and I mean, I'm just looking at third rows. It's like the expensive seats at the ball game. I'm always looking at them, but I never sit in them. But what this was amazingly easy to get into that third row.
yeah, and that's part of the beauty of an electric vehicle is Hyundai puts all, or sorry, I'm sorry, Kia puts all their electronics up front, so it doesn't have a frunk like a lot of EVs, but it means it has a completely flat floor and tons of space inside. Um, Super easy to access. Yeah, it's for carrying people. It's competitive with a minivan when it comes to the amount of room it has.
It's funny. I thought something similar to that when I got into it. I was saying it's not a minivan, but it does have uh, kind of that vibe to it. It's because of the grandiosity of the interior. I mean, it's a huge interior. This thing is as big as now. I haven't measured it, so to be fair, but I'm going to say it's on the par with the Explorer or the Escalade or any one of those vehicles as far as
Very
space.
similar to the Telluride.
Yeah, Yeah, which everybody loves.
Yep.
Everybody loves that vehicle.
Yeah, and
So
we drove that thing for 2 days, and we did not touch its range.
yeah, it really is. That's one thing I'm not. I mean, I've been driving it for 3 days now, and I don't think it's ticked down all that much.
Yep.
And now again, I haven't taken it on the highway to be fair, but again, a spectacular vehicle. And we've said this on the show before. The Koreans have really got this EV. I mean, I don't know why the Americans haven't figured this out like they have.
Yeah, the Hyundai, Kia, Genesis group, um, they're just rocking it right now on their EVs. They're fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. From the little ones to the big ones. I mean, and the thing that I like, and again, I noticed it in the EV9, but it's also in the Hyundais. That whole group has a keen eye for style. It's not just like you get in a Tesla, and it's like you're getting an egg. It's just not. It's not an engaging vehicle. It's a Birkenstock.
It's an
You know.
appliance.
Yeah, it's an appliance. You
Yep.
get into the EV9 or any one of the, especially the Ioniq 6 on the Hyundai side, and those cars are engaging. They're appealing to look at. There's um, there's a certain style of textures in the interiors. The whole thing has just the feel of they're bringing style back.
Yep. Yep. Let's talk about pickup trucks. And we actually had a wider variety of pickup trucks than we've ever had in this competition. But overall, the 2024 Chevy Colorado ZR2 Bison. How's that for a mouthful? That took the pickup truck class.
See, that's not surprising to me. It was on my I think that was in the top 5, or it might have been just outside the top 5 cars I drove last year that I didn't wanna give back, which is something that I do every year, and it was an amazing truck. I mean, I was surprised that I thought it was usually the gold standard there is the Tacoma,
Right.
and this thing I thought was better, just better than the Tacoma.
Yeah, well, in our event, it was only up against a Tacoma TRD off-road. It wasn't up against, kind of its peer, the TRD Pro from Toyota. But
Right.
it was also up against, Ford Ranger Raptor and the new Ram 1500 Rebel. And that's pretty tough competition, and it came out on top.
How many people did we have voting this year?
19.
Okay, so that's a good number, a good cross section of
Good cross section.
good cross section of people. All right, give me some more of the of
Okay.
the
Electrified outdoor activity vehicle, which is a category that's growing every year. And that was the Kia EV9 again.
so this took 2 categories in the
It did.
voting, and it's nice that we have separated out to a certain degree the electrified vehicles because there is that decision about people. When they go, they're looking and they're saying, okay, do I want to get an electric? What's the best of the electric? What's the best of the ICE? What's the best of the hybrids?
Yep. It'll be interesting to look at this in 10 years and say, okay, do we just have to separate out and have a gas division?
Yeah, yeah, because I don't think gas is going away as quickly as everybody thought it might have.
No, but it's electrics, are here to stay. And in most ways, they're a better driving experience than gas cars.
Yeah, yeah. Now the Wrangler did take a category that you expected it to take, which was the extreme capability SUV. This is the rough and ready tumble. Let's go to the top of the mountain. Let's go backwoods camping. Let's go all over the place. The
It did
Rubicon
win, but
X
it
took
did
that.
not. It did not win in a cakewalk though, because it had some stiff competition out there. It had the Colorado ZR2 Bison had the Ineos Grenadier Trial Master, the Ranger Raptor. It
Right.
it had to beat some pretty tough competition, and it did.
And that's the one where that it's funny because it's almost that's the one that this whole event grows out of, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it really kind of when you think about, okay, this is the Northwest type of vehicle that you're thinking of. You have the family type vehicle, but back in the original intent for Mudfest, hence the name, this is kind of the vehicle that it was kind of the event was designed around.
Oh yeah, when we started this competition, it was all body on frame, truck based vehicles. Chevy Blazers, Jeeps, Ford, the first Ford Explorer. Yeah, some back
Right, if
back
it
in the
didn't
day,
rattle
shall we say.
yeah, if it didn't rattle, it wasn't, it couldn't get into the competition.
There were a lot of vehicles out there that you had to get out and flip the locks on the hubs to put them in four-wheel drive.
Oh, the good old days, man, the good
Yeah.
old days. John Vincent from US News World Report is with us. We're talking about the N.W.A.P.A 2024 Mudfest winners. Northwest Outdoor Activity Vehicle. No surprise to me on this one. I mean, when you think about everything that we've driven, the Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness.
Best
I, I,
value. Yep.
yeah, I mean, when you talk about return for your dollar on a vehicle, this could be the best one out of everything.
I mean, this is the quintessential Northwest activity vehicle. It can get you to the trailheads. It can get you to the shopping mall. It can, be your best companion every day of the week as you're, commuting in Seattle or Portland traffic. Phenomenal car, affordable to buy, just a great all around package.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something that people, when they're looking at these cars, when somebody asks me about, what can I buy that's going to give me some kind of off road capability, something that is gonna give me a little bit of confidence if I wanna, throw the kids in the back and take them up to, uh, Lake Easton on the other side or something like that, but yet is gonna be comfortable enough for me to commute in every day. I can't afford 2 cars. I can't afford 2 insurances. I gotta go with 1 car.
Yeah,
This seems to hit that in the sweet spot.
it does. And in the Northwest, we have a lot of people who ski and snowboard, and it's a perfect four-season vehicle.
Now, the Hyundai, come close in this category?
It did. It came in very close.
Yeah, because that's the only one I think of off the top of my head. That maybe the Nero, that maybe gives you some of this.
Yeah, the Mazda CX-50 does it fairly well. The new RAV4 TRD off road has some capability there. The Honda Pilot Trail Sport does well, but those are all a lot more expensive.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you're gonna buy one of these Subarus, I'm thinking, under 40.
Easily.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I'm talking about a well-equipped, everything on it,
Yeah,
racks and so on and so forth. You're gonna come in under 40 grand, which is no small feat these days.
right. I can actually look it up right now and tell you what the price on that car was, which I think you'll be surprised. Bear with me for a half a second here.
Sure. And then John Vincent is with us from U.S. News and World Report. He comes on the show with us every few weeks, and we talk about cars and everything else that's going on in the world. We're talking about Mudfest this week, our annual event that I did not get to attend, but they had it anyway. Darn it!
And we
And
missed you. We missed you. It wasn't the same event without you. So
I don't.
we had the
Again,
cost that we had out there was $35,000.
wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That That's a solid value for $35,000
Yep.
car. I mean, I don't know that you could do much better than the Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness. And finally, the big category, I guess the most encompassing. This was a bit of a surprise to me. The 2024 Lexus GX 550 Overtrail.
Yep. It
Uh,
won both the luxury class and the overall win. Was not as much as a surprise to me, because this is a fantastic vehicle.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, a surprise in that I guess that the I don't. Well, I guess yeah. I mean, not a surprise in luxury, but the overall prize, I think, is the one that surprises me more. I almost would have thought, and I don't know if they can win two categories, but I almost would have thought that Subaru would have taken that one too.
They certainly could have won both categories, but the Lexus, it did everything we asked it. It went everywhere on the course that the Wrangler went, because it's essentially you know a Toyota Land Cruiser, the new Land Cruiser in a tuxedo.
Right, right.
It's extremely capable off road. It's very comfortable on road. It does everything well. It comes at a
Yeah,
price, but it does everything well.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing is you definitely. But if you're looking at a Lexus GX, you're the 550, you're probably not as worried about the price as you are things like the reliability, the how it feels when you drive it, how it reacts to taking it off the road and doing that kind of stuff. I think that's much more what you're looking for as opposed to saying, well, you know, it's 80,000, it's 85, it's this, it's that. I don't know that you're thinking that much about that. Just like you don't think that these days when you go to buy a pickup truck anymore.
Right. I drove a $90,000 plus Ram 1500 light duty truck a couple of months ago. $90,000 for a light duty pickup truck.
Yeah, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking to me the price on these on some of these vehicles, but that's what it is right now. John, I know that you were up against the clock with you, so I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on
Well,
and
thanks for
doing
the
a little
opportunity,
bit.
Vinny. I love coming in and talking to you.
Same here. Let's get together in a couple of weeks and throw back a few of the cars we've driven and see what we got, man. It's always great to talk to you, John.
Great. Thanks, Vinny. Have a
All
great
right,
day.
John Vincent joining us here on our little drive time soiree that we talk to John from time to time, and again, the former head of president of the N.W.A.P.A, the Northwest Automotive Press Association. All right, what do you say we do quickly give you this little yo, Vinny, what are you driving this week? This is what I am driving this week, and um, as we told you before, the EV9, 2024 Kia EV9. Um, this is a spectacular vehicle. This is an all-wheel drive, um, a stunningly beautiful vehicle on the outside. This thing makes its bones on the inside. They pay beautiful attention to design in this vehicle, as you can see just by taking a look at it and looking at the textures and the different pieces that are on this car that make it a Kia. And if you can see a Kia or a Hyundai, you look in the interiors, you look at the different design cues on these cars, and they make them stand out. They make them different than anything else. But also in this vehicle, where it really makes its bones is when you get inside the vehicle. That's where you really start to see some interesting looks as far as a sweeping dashboard that goes all the way across. You see flush door handles. I thought only George Barris used to put those things in cars, but you see how much this vehicle comes with these little design cues that make the car feel. And listen, this is no cheap car. Don't get me wrong, but the design cues make you feel like the car is more expensive than it is. The seats are comfortable. One of the great things that they've done in these seats is put um, like a rest on the bottom, so when you're sitting in the car and you can fold the seat back and send the seat back so that your legs, your calves are up in the air and you take some stress off of your feet. One pedal operation in this thing for a complete electric vehicle feel. Like I say, that one pedal operation, you can see that thing sticking down there. This also, listen, I love that you can take the lights in this vehicle and make them your team colors. Right, orange and blue for the Mets, I know. But it also has the Mariners colors in it too. But once again, you look at a vehicle that is artistic, that is very pleasingly unique to look at from the outside, but also does the job on the inside. You get in the back of this thing, as I said before, the third row in this SUV is as accessible as anything you'll see from a Ford or a Chevy, Suburbans or anything like that. It is, it does the trick. It really steps up to the plate. There are a few different models of this EV9 that we are driving, that I drove. I have not driven the different models. This one is the EV9 is the Land E all-wheel drive. This comes in about $71,000. The Wind E all-wheel drive is a little less, and then they have like a $56,000 version that you can buy too. But I think that the Wind gives you 379 horsepower, second row captain's chairs, battery conditioning to get the thing going. Uh, it has a range of I'm thinking that the range on this, I have to think. I did not write it down, unfortunately. It'll get to 60 miles per hour in just 4.5 seconds. If you put it in that sport mode, it really starts to fly. As a matter of fact, you got to watch yourselves with this thing a little bit. The entry level comes with a 76 kilowatt hour battery pack. The vehicle that we are driving has about a 270-mile estimated range. I've been driving this thing around town for 2 days and haven't even come close to knocking a lot off of it. The onboard charger is there, but the DC fast charging speed says that you can add 100 miles of driving range in just 13 minutes. So if you are taking that road trip, boom, this is what you're looking at. How fast can I stop at a charging station, charge it, get another 100 miles, and keep going? 13 minutes, that's just about time to get out, get a cup of coffee, and get back in and go. Um, Probably about the similar cargo space to the Telluride. If you fold the second and third rows flat, you get upwards more than 80 cubic feet of space. Not many people do that, but a lot of people fold that third row flat. So if you're headed to the soccer game and you got to put a bunch of kids in there, you still have some room behind that third row to put some stuff, some equipment bags and stuff like that. I'm enjoying my time in this. I think it's a well done, well styled vehicle. Maybe as we said before, I'd like to be able to touch that. The on switch wasn't where it is, but I love, love the column shifter. It's a very simple switch. Not very like just you hit that switch and you twist it, and with a twist of the wrist you're going forward, another twist of the wrist you're going backwards. And I absolutely love the one pedal driving. I've become so enamored of that. And as I said, the system in this thing, the surround sound system and everything is as good as anything you will find out there. I love the sound that comes out of this vehicle, as far as the stereo system and everything else. I just think that this is an excellent, excellent vehicle that Kia has put together here in this EV9. They are Kia and Hyundai and Genesis are proving that the electric vehicle is a viable and spectacular vehicle, and that you can make them without a lot of problems. They are, a long time ago, somebody that I know that I really trust in the automotive world said, keep your eye on Kia and Hyundai, that those are the companies that are going to have the best electric vehicles. And so far, as we sit here in 2024, they have not given me any reason to doubt them. As I said, this particular vehicle here that I'm driving is. I just want to get back to the price here a second. This particular vehicle is 71,395, all-wheel drive. And if you're in the market, if you're out shopping for a large SUV and you think that an electric will meet your needs, this is a vehicle that you ought to be looking at. It does everything it was designed to do, and then some. So that's the Yo Vinnie, what are you driving this week's segment of our show. All right, that is going to put this one in the books. Thank you so much to John Vincent of U.S. News and World Report for making it happen, giving us all of the lowdown from MUDFEST. We always appreciate his participation in the show. We also always appreciate our good friend George Jackson, who, if you are in the mood or in the market or in the way of needing business specialties for your company, whether you want to give out notebooks or T-shirts or any kind of promotional material, George Jackson is my friend, and he's the guy you want to see. He's a big supporter of this show from the beginning, from day one. And George really does a great job because he has quality stuff. Anything you buy from George is going to be guaranteed to be good. He gives you great service. And most importantly, he's just a great guy to deal with. In this world of, I put my order in on the computer and there's nobody I can call. George gives you his phone number. He says, you got a problem, call me. And it gets done. Boom. So if you're in the market for business specialties, promotional items, GJPromo.com. Find him on Facebook, too, at George Jackson Promotions. GJ Promo is my friend George Jackson, and I'm proud to call him a friend and proud to call him somebody who does the right thing when it comes to doing business with people. I wouldn't tell you about him if he didn't. It's been my credo for years and will continue to be till the day I drop dead. All right, thank you so much for your participation in the show. We will be back next week at 11 o'clock on all the social media channels and our podcast. You can get us on Apple, on all of the podcast providers as well. So if the Lord's willing, the creek don't rise, we'll catch up with you next week when we will preview some Mother's Day gifts for Mom. The driving mom. We will talk to you next week. Thank you so much. Have a very good week and talk to you. I'll talk to you on Monday with Mikey on Mikey and Vinnie. Take on the world. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye-bye.